Nobody else will tell you this, but the only thing that you should be focusing on as a coach is trying to differentiate yourself from the rest of your market. If you can't separate yourself from the competition, you've already lost. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through my 7 levels of building a profitable brand that stands out and stops competing with everyone else in your market. This is the exact process that I've used to build my brand to 427,000 followers and in multi-6-figure years in the most competitive and most saturated market online, weight loss. So if I can win in that difficult niche, I can show you how to build a successful coaching brand in yours. So let's jump right in, and I want to start with a definition of what branding actually means, because most people have no clue. So the bare bones, simplest definition is that branding is what you are known for. Now, we have to understand that every single person, coach, creator online already has a brand. The question is whether you intentionally designed and built your brand, or if the audience decided on your brand for you. And if you're just leaving it up to chance or trying to figure it out as you go and not putting any intention behind your brand creation process at all, then your audience is going to draw their own conclusions in comparison to everybody else in your market. And if you let that happen, you failed, because blending in is going to leave you broke. And if you want to win, if you want to be successful, no matter what niche or market you're in, you have to become the category king. You have to intentionally design, create, and ruthlessly promote your own category of one. You need to position yourself in a way that there is no competition and no other businesses that you can be compared to. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do by the end of this video. Now, you'll notice I repeated one word there a few times: intention. Everything about your brand must be done with intention. And intention comes from clarity. If you don't know where you're going or why, nothing else really matters, right? If nothing gets done intentionally, you're just kind of throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. And it's not a very effective plan, I'm sure you would agree. So what we're going to do first is get clear on exactly what you want your brand to become and what you want your brand to do for you. So step 1 is getting clarity on what I call your summit goal. Now, your summit goal is your top of the mountain. It's your peak. It is the goal where once you achieve it, there's nowhere else left to climb to. And to be clear, your summit goal is not what your brand is or what your brand is about or what you're helping other people with. Your summit goal is the end goal or the outcome that you want your brand to help you achieve. Also, your summit goal is 100% yours, so it can be as big or as small as you want it to be. Your summit goal is your own mountain to climb, so you get to decide wherever that peak is. And your summit goal can be whatever you want it to be. Maybe you want to make $1 million. Maybe you want to be the biggest name in your industry and have international recognition. Maybe you want to speak on stages and travel the world, teaching everybody around the world whatever your brand focuses on. Maybe you just want to build a brand so big that you can donate millions of dollars to a charity that is very close to your heart. Maybe you just want to retire your spouse or your parents. It's 100% up to you. You just have to make sure that you have clarity on exactly what you want. Because if you don't have clarity here, there's no point in even building the fucking brand. Because if you don't know exactly what you want, then it doesn't matter what you do, because all roads lead to nowhere. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is your mission. So now that we know what your summit goal is, which is where you want your brand to take you, what do you need to do, or what do you need to be known for to make that summit goal a reality for yourself? What do you need to be known for to reach your goal? So here's a way that I like to think about this. Do one thing better than anybody else on earth. Obsess over one thing and become the best at it. Don't try to be known for multiple things, or your message or your brand becomes too diluted and too spread thin. So pick one big idea that can be your thing. The thing that if you asked anybody in your audience what the first thing that came to mind is when they hear your name, it's the one and only thing that they would say. Now, for this part here, you don't need to have a unique mission or something wild or crazy or different from anybody else. We're going to get clarity on what your mission is first for your brand, and then later on, we're going to get into the differentiation, the separation, and the category creation stuff in a moment. But first, let's get clarity on what your mission is for your brand. So, for example, I'll just tell you what mine is. So my mission is that what I want to be known for to achieve my summit goal is I want a reputation for helping coaches build extremely profitable category king brands in their market without sacrificing their energy, peace, or freedom to achieve it. That is my one thing that I'm aiming to become the best at and to become known for. So every single piece of content and marketing that I put out into the world, just like this one right here, has that mission attached to it. It fuels that mission. So once you have clarity on your mission, you have your summit goal, then we can move on. Step number 3 it's time to build your fucking brand and make it happen. So there are 7 levels to the category of 1 brand creation. We're going to start off very simple at the top, very surface level. Then as we move down through each of the levels, they're going to become more and more important and also more unique. So the further we move through these levels, the more differentiated your brand becomes, and the easier it's going to be for you to stand out, and the closer you become to becoming the category king in your market where there is no longer any competition. So let's begin. Level 1 is your person. So this is going to be like your perfect dream future client. It's the exact type of person that you want to work with for the rest of your life, for the rest of your business anyways, your dream clients. So what you want here is you want to make sure that your brand is not for everybody, right? You want your brand to be for one very specific type of person. But a big mistake that I see a lot of coaches making here is that they try to go way too specific with the person that they want to work with. Most of the advice out there is that around picking a niche is that you want to be extremely detailed about your dream client avatar, right? They'll tell you to get like so specific, like you're talking to Karen. She's a 37-year-old wife, a mom of 3 kids, 2 boys, 1 girl. She's a teacher. She lives in the Upper East Side of New York City. She loves reading smut, and her favorite hobby is knitting. I don't know, what the fuck, right? And if you niche down that far, you eliminate 99.999% of your people that you could actually help, right? You push away people that you should be bringing in, right? So I'm not going to give you that advice. I'm going to give you some very contrarian advice here and say, stay broad with the type of person that you want to help. Don't push away people who would be a perfect fit for your coaching program. I'll give you a really extreme example here to demonstrate this. Imagine if you were opening a pizza restaurant and some business guru was consulting with you and he said that you really need to niche down if you want to sell more pizza. So you decide to take his advice and you decide to market your pizza to lawyers over the age of 50 that live in only a very specific part of your city, right? But then let's say a 20-year-old carpenter comes into your restaurant. He's from a different part of the city. Maybe he's from out of town. He walks into your restaurant and your waiter says, sorry, sir, it doesn't look like you're a lawyer over 50 from the east side, so I can't sell you any pizza today, right? That would be completely ridiculous, right? And yet that's what most coaches are doing when they pick a niche avatar so small for their coaching business, right? They're just pushing away all their potential buyers and customers and clients. So what I want you to do is pick a client avatar category that is broad enough that it appeals to a large audience, but not too specific that it pushes people away. I'll give you some good examples here. So a good category would be like ex-athletes or women going through menopause, combat sport athletes, blue collar workers, men over 40, college athletes, diabetics, gamers, entrepreneurs, moms, dads, parents. All of these are great categories because they're specific, but they're not too specific, right? And the key thing with these examples here is that we're only using one detail to define them, not 5 to 10 different characteristics. So they're still broad enough that there is a massive potential audience, a massive TAM or total addressable market, which is a very good thing. So that's level 1, and we're just getting started. Level 2 is your promise. So your promise is the outcome that you are promising your prospects will achieve through engaging with your brand. Now, the most important detail here is that it needs to be a promise of a result that people are already searching for a solution for, right? If you pick some weird, obscure, or nuanced promise that people are not actively looking to solve, or not many people are looking to solve, it's going to be very difficult to get enough people interested in your brand. So don't try to create desire, right? Find a desire that people already have and present your brand as the solution to that desire. The second most important detail here is that you can't have multiple promises. You need to have one clear promise or outcome for your brand. Now, I see a lot of coaches make this mistake here, especially in the fitness niche. They'll be promising to help people lose fat and build muscle at the same time, right? But that's 2 different outcomes and promises that's going to appeal to very different audiences, right? And all it does is it creates confusion for your prospects and your audience. So imagine if you were creating content for that double promise, right? One day you make content talking about building muscle and you gain some followers for that. Awesome, great, right? They're interested in building muscle. They want to learn more about that and how you can help them with that. The next day, you post a piece of content about losing fat. And the people who followed you yesterday, who wanted more tips about building muscle, They see your fat loss post, like, I don't care about this. I want to get jacked. I'm skinny now, right? They don't care about the fat loss posts, and vice versa too. So all it does is confuse your audience and your prospects when you're talking about two different promises. So decide on one singular core promise that you're going to stick to. Now, I'll make this easier for you. I want to give you some guidelines or criteria so that you can make a good choice here. So your promise needs to be, number one, big. It needs to be a big promise. It needs to be something that is worth paying for, some sort of transformational outcome that literally changes somebody's life for the better after they achieve it, right? No matter what niche that you're in. Number two, it has to be urgent. I mean, it has to be something that's painful enough for them to act on it right now or very soon. Something that is going to get worse or more painful the longer that they wait to deal with it. Number three, it has to be important. So it should be tied to people as a population whole's core desires, which is like money, health, status, freedom, relationships. It has to tie into their core desires to be important enough to them to actually invest in this thing. Number four, it has to be specific, meaning it has to be tangible, measurable, and easy to point to and describe. So I'm going to come back to that one in a second because I want to kind of dial that one in and make sure that is very clear there. But that's number four. Lastly, number five is that it should be proven, meaning that people are already spending money trying to solve the problems that lead to wanting this solution or outcome, right? There's people trying to achieve this solution on their own, either paying for products, services, other coaching out there, right? You're not trying to create desire. You're tapping into the desire that's already there, offering a different solution for it, right? So make sure that your promise fits into those five criteria and checks all those boxes there before moving on. Now, I said I wanted to touch on number four there. So a mistake that I see a lot of people making is they pick a very vague promise. Like, I'm going to help people get healthier, or I'm going to help businesses grow, or I'm going to help people get a bigger social media. I'm going to help people become the best version of themselves, right? None of those promises are tangible or measurable, which means they're not good promises, right? They're not very interesting. For example, if we wanted to go tangible and measurable, you could have a promise like, I'm going to help you lose 10 pounds, or I'm going to help you increase your net worth by $120,000. I'm going to help you gain 12,000 followers on social media, right? Those are all tangible, measurable promises. You can point to them and say, hey, I was here when I started working with you. Now I'm here thanks to you, right? I got this result thanks to your program or your coaching, thanks to your brand, right? I engaged with your brand and you helped me make progress from here to here, right? It has to be tangible, measurable, and that you can kind of point to where they were and where they're going, right? If you can't check that box, you have to go back to the drawing board and find something better. So that's level two. Level number three is the problem. So if the promise is the destination or the end goal or the outcome, then the problem is the roadblock standing in front of it. Now, most people, most coaches, when they're defining the brand, they stop at the promise. Right? That's as deep as they go. They'll nail down their person a little bit too much. They'll figure out a promise that they want to help people achieve, but they don't make themselves unique by calling out a specific problem. So this is where we can really start to differentiate yourself from everyone else in your niche. This is where it starts to get a lot more unique. So I'll give you an example here from my previous business, then I'll go into explaining how you can decide on a unique problem for yourself. So my promise for my previous coaching business was that it was in the weight loss niche. So it was that I helped lifelong dieters lose up to 33 pounds in 16 weeks. That was my promise. Now, the problem that I helped them overcome was their self-sabotage mindset that caused them to get in their own way. So this is where you can really start to create your own category of one, because you're not just helping people achieve the same outcome or promise that thousands or millions of other coaches are promising too. You're helping them solve a very unique and specific obstacle that has been holding them back for years. Right? And getting specific on this problem here and choosing a unique problem that you're going to help your prospect solve does two things for you. So number one, it positions you as the coach who truly understands what's going on beneath the surface level for your prospects. Number two, it gives you a villain or an enemy to fight against in your marketing, in your content. And whether that villain is outdated strategies, bad advice, internal enemies like mindset or habits, whatever it is, it gives you something to kind of rally your audience against and fight against together. So those are two big benefits. Now, How do you pick a good problem to solve? Well, it has to meet 3 criteria. So number 1, it has to be unique, right? So not everybody in your niche is already talking about solving this problem. It has to be something that is unique. It doesn't have to be the most unique thing in the world. There can be still some competition because we're going to go a lot deeper yet still on differentiation and uniqueness, but it has to be something that not everybody's talking about. Maybe a small number of people are, that's okay. We can have some competition there, just not everybody in your niche. So it has to be as unique as possible. Number 2, the problem you're trying to solve has to feel like an easy button. Like if you were to help your prospects solve this problem, they would feel like after this obstacle was out of their way, it would be easy to achieve their goals going forward. Number 3, it has to be obvious. So it has to be a problem that your prospect can identify with. And you want them to feel like when you call out this problem, you want them to feel like, hey, he's speaking to me directly, right? So it has to be something that is already top of mind for them, not something buried deep beneath the surface level that they never think about. It has to be something that they already know that they need to solve. So choose a problem that fits those 3 criteria, check all 3 of those boxes there, and then you can move on. So level 4 now is authority. Now this is where we really start to separate ourselves from the competition by a mile. So your authority comes from your unique mechanism. And a unique mechanism is basically like the secret sauce behind your product or your service or your coaching program or your system. So it's the specific reason why your system works when nothing else your prospects have tried has worked in the past. So the goal of your unique mechanism is not to sell people on just a promise or a problem-solving program, but to sell people on an idea. Right? You want people to think, oh, that's really interesting. I've never heard of that or tried that before. Maybe this has been the missing piece or the reason that I have not been successful in the past, right? You want people to think like, oh, this sounds or feels like a magic pill or the secret sauce or the golden key to success, right? That is the idea of creating a unique mechanism, which is going to build your authority, right? And when you get this right, it positions you as an authority in your market, which makes your prospects want to choose you despite any other competition in your niche. So that's the idea here. Now I'm going to give you some examples because I think this is going to be a lot clearer to you. This is going to help you understand a lot better when you see some examples here. It's going to be very clear what I'm talking about here. So I got 3 examples for you. First one, James Clear and his book, Atomic Habits. So what the book is about is it's literally just a book about building and breaking habits. That's it, right? Not a very exciting topic. And there was already dozens and dozens of books about habit building that have been published before him by great writers too. But he went on to publish Atomic Habits and sold 20 million copies of that book. Now, the reason he was so successful is because of his unique mechanism or his positioning, which is Atomic Habits, right? He focused on helping people take tiny little steps that they could use to move towards their goals and change their life. So he came up with an interesting twist or a unique hook on an idea that had been talked about for decades before already, right? And he explained this idea or this concept in 2 very simple short words so that everybody understood instantly, right? So that unique positioning or unique mechanism gave him the authority to stand out in his market, to position himself as somebody that is worth listening to in his market when there had already been tons of people there before. So another one here, Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek. So another excellent example here. So the book again sold millions and millions of copies. And if we look at what the book is actually about, if we boil it down to what he's actually talking about, he's only talking about prioritization and outsourcing work, right? Again, very boring concepts that have been around forever and very surface level concepts that are not very interesting, right? But nobody had ever presented those concepts, those ideas in this unique way before that made it appealing to the mass audience or mass market, right? Nobody wants to learn or buy a book about outsourcing or prioritization, right? But everybody wants to buy a book about learning how they can only work 4 hours a week. That's very appealing to a lot of people who would not otherwise be interested in it. So that's how powerful a unique mechanism can be. One more example here, Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels. So what are funnels, right? Funnels are literally just a website, right? And websites had been around for literally decades before Russell ever launched this idea. So he put a new name on it and sold it as a movement or a unique mechanism. And before he built this platform, this software, there was also already hundreds or thousands of website building tools available. But website building is boring, right? So Russell put a unique spin on it on the traditional website and turned it into a $300 million per year business. So hopefully now you can see why it's so important to come up with a unique mechanism and how powerful it can be. It gives you and your brand unique positioning to stand out because it's something that literally nobody else is saying. It's something new and different that your audience hasn't heard or seen before. So I'll give you a quick little criteria checklist to help come up with your own unique mechanism for your brand, and then we'll move on. So again, there's just kind of 3 things you got to check off here. Number 1, it is specific, meaning like the name itself implies what it is and how it works. So if we look at those examples I gave you, ClickFunnels, the 4-Hour Workweek, Atomic Habits, they all kind of imply what the end goal is that it's going to help you achieve, right? It's funneling leads to turn them into customers. It's only working 4 hours per week. It's taking baby steps to achieve big habits, right? The name implies the outcome. So keep it very specific and so that it's sort of like a metaphor or an analogy or helps you picture what the end goal is. Number 2, keep it very simple. Don't try to come up with I see some people just take this way too far and come up with like crazy complex names just to try to stand out, and it just makes it more complicated. So coming up with ideas like, I don't know, the multi-phase glycemic optimization sensitivity protocol for recalibration of your A1C levels, right? As opposed to just like helping people get their diabetes under control, right? So don't try to put such a complex twist on it just to try to be extra unique, right? Keep it very simple. And I would add to that, try and keep it as short as possible. Like 2, 3, maybe 4 words at the absolute most, and short, simple words that are easily understandable by everybody as well, right? Short, simple is number 2. Number 3, it has to pass the Google test. Meaning like if you typed it into Google, you get 0 matching results, right? It needs to be unique to you and only you, so it can't be Googleable. You can't search it and find other people already talking about or using this word or using this unique mechanism in other places. So it has to pass the Google test and the other 2 criteria there as well. So check out those 3 criteria. If you pass those, then you can move on to level 5. So level 5 is all about beliefs. So it's going to be your contrarian beliefs that make your dream clients fall in love with you and your brand. And if all of your beliefs are aligned with what everybody else in your industry or your market believes, nobody has any reason to pay attention to you, right? You're not offering anything new to the discussion or the conversation within your market. So you want to find beliefs that are mostly in agreement within your market as a whole that you can challenge, that you can give a contrarian take against them, right? Now, how you find these is that you want to look for the gap in your market, a gap of what is missing in your niche, and you want to become the solution for that. So I'll give you 3 questions to help you find out what these are in your market. Number 1, ask yourself, what is everyone else talking about that you disagree with? Number 2, what would be a pattern interrupt that goes against all the guru gospel in your market? Number 3, what is a newer or a fresh perspective that you can bring that nobody else is talking about? So answer those 3 questions and you will find at least a couple different beliefs that you can challenge and go against. Now, as I said, these must be contrarian beliefs, right? So these opinions should ruffle some feathers and they should get you some hate, because if nobody hates you, nobody's going to love you either. And there's no money in the middle. So you can't stay in the gray area, right? There's no neutral territory here in this level here, right? You have to challenge some things that are going to get you some hate. And to add to that, you have to don't be controversial just for controversy's sake, right? Don't try to just say things that you know are going to piss people off, right? You have to actually believe that what you're saying is true. You have to believe that your opinions are correct. You have to have conviction with everything that you're saying about these beliefs here, or you're just going to come across as somebody trying to rage bait the audience or just trying to start arguments for attention. And that's not the goal here at all, right? The goal is to identify your unique beliefs that will differentiate you from what everyone else is saying, right? So you can kind of start a new conversation in your market around new ideas. That's the goal here. So that's level 5. Next is level 6, which is all about associations. So the goal of level 6 is to start to paint your bigger brand image. And the easiest way to do that is with associations. Now, associations are ideas, values, beliefs, or people that you want to associate your brand with. So when you decide on these, everything you do and say should reinforce these associations to start to paint this brand picture for you and for your business. Now, a little warning here. You have to be very careful about what or who you choose to associate your brand with. This has to be something that is done very intentionally because it can make or break your brand. It can be very good or very bad for your brand. And I think a lot of people are already conscious or intentional about choosing what they want to associate with. But I would argue that what people miss out the most on is choosing what not to associate themselves with. And I think that's much more important. Nobody considers what not to associate themselves with. And so I'll give you a couple examples here that really demonstrate the good and the bad of associations and how it can go very well or it can go very badly. So I'm sure everybody knows the brand Nike, obviously, right? And everybody has probably heard of Kobe Bryant, arguably one of the best basketball players of all time. Now, for decades, Nike has been trying to associate themselves with basketball. So it only made sense for them to partner with Kobe and associate themselves with him and his brand, right? Well, it did at first until Kobe got into a little bit of legal trouble and had a bunch of allegations of doing some really sketchy shit back in early 2000s, right? So after that happened, Nike dropped him for a few years. It was like 3 to 5 years. They just stopped associating themselves with him because it would be a bad association for them and for their brand to align themselves with him and with his brand and all the problems that he had going on in his world. So it can be good for a while and then it can turn bad. So you have to be very careful with who you choose to associate with and ideas and values and concepts you choose to associate yourself with as well, because they can change as well. So it has to be something that you're constantly staying on top of and constantly being intentional about sticking with your associations. Another more recent example that I'm sure a lot of people heard about as well was with Bud Light a couple of years ago, the beer company. So for whatever reason, Bud Light thought it would be a good idea to get a little bit woke and associate themselves with the LGBT community. So they partnered with a trans person and almost bankrupted their entire brand overnight because their audience and their customers are definitely not the woke community. So that was a very, very bad association for them at that time. Now, to be clear, it doesn't mean it's a bad association in general. It was just a bad association for their brand. It might have been an excellent association for a different kind of brand, but not for them. So they cut ties immediately. They dropped that partnership and they turned around within a couple of weeks and they partnered with UFC. And that was a very good move for them. It saved their brand, right? That was a very good association for their brand because the UFC is something that their customers also loved. So that turnaround, that very quick turnaround, saved their brand and saved their company. Right? So hopefully that makes it very clear how associations can be good and bad. They can also change over time too. Right? So this always needs to be taken into consideration and something you're always intentional and careful about doing. And also the examples I used there were people or brands, but you don't need to use people or brands for your associations either, right? I just use those as examples to demonstrate the concept here. So your associations can be ideas, beliefs, values, trends, other brands, other people, whatever you want, right? Completely up to you. So I'll give you my associations as an example. So what I've done is I've defined 5 things that I do want to be associated with and 5 things that I do not want to be associated with. So I'll show these to you and I'll explain my reasoning behind them as well, behind some of them. So my do's are branding, obviously, that's what we're talking about here. Scaling profits, building systems and leverage to operate a solo business without having to hire a team, and freedom. Freedom meaning like keeping an empty calendar, working when you want, wherever you want, however much you want, and still being able to enjoy life and follow your passions outside of your business with your free time, with whatever those might be for you. And fitness. So fitness is one thing that I really like to associate myself with, and not because I coach fitness anymore, not because I only work with fitness coaches, but because I just tend to vibe with or get along with fitness people better. I think that comes down to the mindset that fitness people have, right? They have a long-term mindset. They have the ability to delay gratification. I think I just aligned with that mindset very well. And I know the majority of fitness people anyways, have that same mindset. So that is why I try to associate myself with fitness as well. You'll see that in a lot of my content and references to that, clothing that represents that. So those are my 5 do's. Those are the 5 things that I do want to associate myself with. Now, the 5 things that I do not want to associate myself with: hustle culture, sales calls and high pressure selling, viral content, trying to go viral or chasing views, A big one that I do not want to associate myself with is how to start a business or appealing to newbies, right? And the reason is because I don't want to associate myself with the how to make money online community, all right? Because that community or industry tends to be associated with scammers. And I don't want to be in that conversation, right? I don't want people to think that I'm trying to help them launch a business, make money online, go from zero broke to being rich, right? I don't want to have that association at all. So I stay out of the how to make money online conversation. Another one is I don't talk about how to become a good coach, right? I don't talk about how to help people get better results for their clients. And the reason is I don't want to attract people that are looking for a complete magic pill to just make them a perfect coach, make them rich, help them do all the things, right? I only want to focus on helping people build the brand and scale their profits. I don't want to help people become a good coach. I want to attract people that are already crushing it at coaching. They already know how to get amazing client results, but they just know that they can do better with the branding and better with their profits and scaling, right? So by not associating myself with those kind of people looking for those kind of things, those kind of outcomes, it means by definition or by default, I am then associating myself with people that are a little more higher level, right? So those are my do's and those are my don'ts, right? So now it's time to decide on yours. And one thing I'll make clear is that like these are not set in stone either, right? Your associations, your good and your bad ones, are likely going to evolve over time with you and with your brand too. So set these for now, but understand that they're flexible. They can change over time whenever you want, right? And sometimes you got to change them very quickly, as we went over in the examples there. So for now, what I want you to do is pick 3 to 5 things that you want to be associated with, and 3 to 5 things that you want to be associated or do not want to be associated with as well. Write those down and be intentional about associating yourself or avoiding those things as well with all of your future marketing and content. And lastly, level 7 is your brand story. So this is the most important level of branding because it's going to be the most unique to you. Your brand story is something that cannot be copied because nobody else thinks the exact same way that you do. And your brand story is also important because people don't just want to buy coaching programs or promises or solutions to problems. They want to buy coaches. They want to buy the person behind the brand, right? More than anything else, people choose to work with a brand because of that person behind it and why they do what they do, right? So your brand story is what you will use to show the world why you're different and why your brand matters. And then people, your audience is going to choose to work with you because they feel drawn to your story, because they can relate to it, because they align with your message or they align with your values within it. Now, while this is the most important level of branding, it's also the most simple because you've already done most of the work. So your brand story is simply the why behind all the choices that you've made up to this point in this video here, throughout all these different levels. Everything we've talked about so far has led to this point here. So your brand story is simply the why behind the answers that you've already hopefully written down. So why did you choose your summit goal? Why did you choose your mission? Why did you choose to help the specific person that your brand focuses on? Why did you choose the promise that you decided to make? Why did you choose to solve the problem, the specific problem that you decided on? Why did you come up with the authority of the unique mechanism that you chose? Right? Why do you hold your contrarian beliefs? Why do you choose to associate yourself with some things and not with others? The answers to all these questions here are going to make up your brand story. And this brand story, or your why behind these decisions, is arguably more important than the choices themselves. People don't care about what you do until they know why you do it. And people don't care about your brand until they know why it exists in the first place. So while all 7 levels we work through are important, it's going to be your brand story that truly creates your category of one and crowns you as the category king. And if you nail down all 7 of these levels, and if you relentlessly share about these things, along with your brand story behind them, for months and years to come consistently, there will be no competition left for you. You will be playing your own game. And that is how you win. That is how you build a successful brand that stands out from the noise in your industry. So I hope you found this masterclass very helpful. Rewatch it if you need to, take some notes, craft your brand strategy, and then get to work on letting the world know about it. And if you want help monetizing your brand and scaling your profits, click the link below if you want to work with me. Or check out this next video right here, and I'll go over the 5 core systems of my entire business model, and I'll show you exactly what I do and how it works.